Hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Newsflash. It's great to be back. We have a lot of fun things to talk about today, and most of them are not fun as well. We'll take a look at why you need to save the post office today. Give a shout out to the post office, some appreciation to start the show. We'll also take a look at what some progressives are doing to help the workers of this country who are putting their lives out, literally putting their lives out on the line for you and your safety. So we need to give a shout out to them at all times. A little bit more than a shout out. How about some goddamn money? Also, a heartbreaking statistic we'll tell you about. Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden uniting in a much-loved display of party unity. We're going to be talking about Ocasio-Cortez, what she has to say about this upcoming campaign. Talk about the need to defend Rashida Tlaib, and we'll also be taking a trip across the pond to talk about what's going on in jolly old England. And folks, it's not good. Alright, so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us again today, but we start at the top with the United States Post Office. Probably one of the biggest pressing issues right now about it is the fact that it could be put out of business and privatized, because that would really suck. Wouldn't it, folks? And it really is kind of one of the last real big vestiges of things in this country that hasn't been completely sold out and completely sucked dry for the exchange of profit. Like, so many people have been saying on Twitter, like, well, it deserves to die. It's not making a profit. That's been the argument from a lot of the more right-wing people out there for destroying the Postal Service. But let's be real. Like, you don't always need to have something that makes a profit all the time. There's some things that are just meant to perform a public service. Profit be damned. The United States Postal Service is one of them. I do want to point your attention to this great piece here in Discourse blog by Rafi Schwartz. If you wanted, I could print this blog on a paper, and thanks to the magic of the United States Postal Service, mail it to you directly for a negligible fee. And if you so desired, I could do the same thing, but send it to you through FedEx or UPS instead. That'll probably cost you a lot more, though. So, for now, it's a choice that's still available to you. Soon, it might not be. Fast, reliable, and inexpensive mail has become an unlikely pillar during our pandemic isolation. It provides a tangible lifeline to the outside world where we are no longer able to enjoy ourselves, and ensures that packages, medical prescriptions, bills, and paychecks arrive safely on time. And, yes, with minimal expense, because that's very important, and it's a big reason why, oh my gosh, it doesn't make a profit, because maybe it's not supposed to make a profit, and maybe there are more important things in this life. And yeah, I mean, maybe we're moving in the direction away from parcels, but I think we still are going to have to deal with them for a long time. That is the big thing here. It really makes it all the more galling that the Trump administration has reportedly gone out of its way to force the USPS into potentially fatal financial ruin by the end of the summer by blocking efforts to fully fund the agency as part of the latest round of coronavirus relief bills. And this is a guy, someone who's willing to hand out taxpayer dollars to the cruise line industry. The cruise line industry. All the dumbest, most pointless industries that probably all have executives that donate to the Republican Party are all lining up for their handouts like little piggies, and Trump is just staying there and giving it to them, no questions asked. But when it comes to the USPS, which is something so many Americans depend on, and not one where your grandmother goes to go see the world or whatever, but this is being threatened. So the president has really had a long, bizarre gripe against the post office. This is one of his gripes that's really not funny. It's not like his gripes against, for example, like the ones he used to have, like with Ted Cruz and all the grudges that he had against those people. Like the United States Postal Service is important. It's good. Sometimes he has gripes against like bad people. This is not one of them. And he claims it helps his nemesis Jeff Bezos, thanks to Amazon's reliance on the USPS for much of his package deliveries. They should raise and have to raise the prices of these companies that walk in and drop thousands of packages on the floor of the post office and say, deliver it. The president whined last week. They make money, but the post office gets killed, okay? So, I love how he says, okay. So they ought to do that. We are looking into it. We've been pushing them now for over a year. It's been stuck in his craw since 2013, April 3rd, 2018. I am right about Amazon. Of course, he's right about Amazon costing the United States Postal Office massive amounts of money for being their delivery boy. Amazon should pay these costs plus and not have them borne by the American taxpayer. Many billions of dollars. PO leaders don't have a clue. Or do they? Question mark, exclamation point, in parentheses. Several observers is already. If you want to make Amazon pay, if you want to make Jeff Bezos pay more money to the United States Postal Service, somehow, I'm not sure how you would do that in a legal way. You can't just go up to a private citizen running a private company under the American Constitution and be like, yeah, you got to pay more money to the United States Postal Service specifically. But one thing that you really you can't really do that. But if you want to have Jeff Bezos help pay the Amazon Postal Service, I'd be fine with that. But several observers have posited that Trump's decision to really screw with people's mails is solely a reflection for his hatred for Jeff Bezos, which would really suck because all 320 billion people in this country get their mail service taken away from them because Trump hates Jeff Bezos, which would really be the outcome and part of the timeline that we're on. It's really one of the most logical outcomes at this point, where these really stupid things would happen because our stupid president has really stupid grudges, but it just seems like it makes sense. But he's really publicly railed against the USPS, but he's never really linked to the USPS as a whole. Others have become proponents of the theory that his decision to kneecap the USPS is some 13-dimensional chess move to block the effort to expand voting by mail. So that's something that they want to do because people will, their whole idea is that people could tamper with the mail, but you're the one who's trying to tamper with the mail by literally taking away the service that delivers the mail. But we don't know. It could be some 13-dimensional chess move brought about by the Republicans or whatever. I don't know. Maybe the Republican Party is pushing it, but yeah, the Republican Party has really wanted to privatize mail delivery entirely for a long time. It's something that they've always wanted to do. They always want to privatize everything. That's their whole MO. The White House's failure to support the USPS is a decision most likely driven by the standard GOP demons who surround Trump. It should probably be seen as part of the longer mission. It may be the grudge that Trump has against the Postal Service is part of it. It's really one of the factors that's getting it off the ground. But believe me, it's something that they've always wanted to do. It's something they've always been pushing to do because they are demons who want to suck the soul out of everything good in this country. So, yeah, they pretty much want to do a quote-unquote Dementor's kiss, Harry Potter styles to the Postal Service here. And they are in the process of doing it. Sorry, I watched 3 Harry Potter movies over the weekend with my family, so what do you want? But there's a fundamental difference between the USPS and its private competitors. The Postal Service is exactly that, a service rendered to you by the government to fill a crucial need, namely getting certain types of things, very important things a lot of the times, from A to B. Much like fire departments or highway repair workers or any number of other municipal, state, and federal programs that exist simply because it's what governments do. Not everything can be handled down to private businesses. It is not something that, it's just, it works for everything. You can't always privatize everything. Governments are supposed to play a role in people's lives. And of all the most innocuous things you could be mad about a government for, just delivering people's mail does not seem like a big problem with the government. And the government does deliver mail for an efficient cost to a pretty low cost. And I think that's something that it really does deserve credit for. And this conversation is really making me think of this classic clip from the Joe Rogan podcast where they have this guy, Dave Rubin. If you don't know who Dave Rubin is, he's a guy who used to be a left-wing personality on YouTube, and then he switched to a right wing pretty much to make more money. And he's on with Joe Rogan. He's talking about the post office and what it does well. It's just an absolutely pretty epic exchange where Joe Rogan, being the guy who Joe Rogan is really able to easily body in this exchange the idiot that is what's his name? Dave Rubin about the post office. It's also a good way of, it's a funny and good way of kind of educating you about all the post office does for you if you didn't know already.
Do they do the post office well? No.
Yes.
What do they do well?
They do the post office pretty good, actually.
But guess what? If the post office closed tomorrow, it will be all right. You'd still get mail. Amazon would pick. No, it wouldn't. Amazon would pick that up.
Through UPS, it would cost a lot more.
It wouldn't, though. Competition would start kicking in, and between UPS and FedEx and Amazon and drones and blah 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 and DA.
All right, so yeah, that's some Michael Brooks' voice you hear in the background from the Majority Report. It's another show that I am kind of playing this from the YouTube of now. But I just love the idea of the competition, the drones, the blah, blah, blah. Like, these are the type of people who are trying to take the Postal Service away from you for no reason other than to just, like, make, I don't know, UPS happy and just, like, do stupid rants about the small government, or like, we need small government conservatism for no reason. It really doesn't make any sense. So here's another clip from this.
It would cost a lot more.
It wouldn't, though. Competition would start kicking in, and between UPS and FedEx and Amazon and drones and blah blah blah,
blah, blah,
and DHL,
blah. Definitely blah, blah, blah.
It would probably drop prices because right now we've just got this artificial thing that sits there that then allows them
tight policy
to price
argument
according to that. But if you drop that, why is the government in that business anymore? I have 3 chickens. I've really done the Joe Rogan lifestyle here over the last couple of years. So I have 3 chickens right now. I'm going to give you a good UPS story. We ordered them. They were born in August on a Monday in Cleveland. They hatched that day. They threw them in a box with a little hole, USPS, and they showed up at my door in L.A. on a Tuesday. The USPS has been doing that for about 100 years.
It's the only way you can do it, by the way. You can't order chickens through any other method.
Oh, is it just USPS?
Yeah.
So actually, I was giving the USPS credit there because my chickens all arrived live.
Yeah, they send them to chicks.
Yeah.
That's classic.
Live chicks. That's the way you get them.
That's
The
classic.
U.S. Postal Service.
But
you don't get them through UPS.
I'm pretty sure, though, that if the USPS stopped, it didn't exist anymore, you'd still get chickens delivered. And Amazon could probably do it even more effectively. That's
just like, he's like, yeah, I guess I'm giving the USPS like that. I think that's actually the hardest I've ever laughed on this show, 380 episodes or whatever. Wow. So yeah, it's a practice. Yeah, that is really, I think it's a helpful thing. FedEx and the UPS, I mean, they're businesses for which delivering stuff is simply the way to make money for executives and shareholders. The fact is that you, the customer, are getting something out of the deal, usually at a higher cost than the USPS. It's just the way it works. It's cost of really doing business. Conservatives who want to privatize the post office often argue the agency operates like a failed business, constantly losing money while private competitors nip at its heels. But that argument is based on the false belief that the government is the same as a corporation, and its programs need to be profitable in order to be considered a success. The argument you almost never hear from the right when it comes to the military. It's also overlooked the fact that Republicans have deliberately tried to crush the post office for decades by burdening it with unique financial obligations that would sink private sector businesses. So there's another thing. Whenever you hear about this thing that's like it's losing money in the government, there's a 90% chance the Republicans have really screwed it over through some sort of financial kind of just I'm going to say it, fuckery. It's what's happened here. It's what happened with a lot of Medicare and Medicaid, and especially in state governments and entitlement programs. Like that kind of stuff that the government does for you it's important, and it really comes with the mindset of like there are better ways to do this. Like the fees here, they're negligible, and there are ways that the government can just do it, and not everything is about making money, for God's sake. Governments are businesses in the same way pandas are bears. They're not. Profitability isn't the goal, service is, and so long as the USPS provides a crucial service, it stands as a perfect example of why government exists in the first place, and we're not in some kind of anarcho-capitalist society. So go help keep the post office going. Buy some stamps. Send your grandma a postcard. Shout out to my grandma. I should send her a postcard with USPS. That would be good. That would be a good thing for me to do. But yeah, anyway, big shout out to the USPS for the great work that they do. All right, so we're going to talk now about what some of the progressives out there, Ro Khanna and Elizabeth Warren, are doing for an essential worker Bill of Rights. How about that? So Senator Elizabeth Warren and Representative Ro Khanna's proposal, unveiled Monday for an essential workers Bill of Rights, is being cheered by leading progressive organizations who are demanding the next coronavirus relief package take care of those on the front lines of this pandemic. So, yeah. And I think it's something that you really got to do. I think it's something that really you could probably find a lot of support from people who don't necessarily consider themselves progressives. So it should be simple. The frontline workers who risked their lives to keep Americans